There are a lot of important rankings when it comes to the Premier League, right? We keep up with all of them. They're the how many goals have you scored? That's a nice one. How about how many points do you have? How many goals have you allowed? The card table. Nobody really cares about that, but it exists. And of course, the goal difference, a combination of two of the numbers that we've already talked about. You might be wondering, Zealand, have you lost your mind? Why the hell are you talking about stuff this stupid? Well, because a new ranking has dropped. And it's not some weird newfangled like XG expected blades of grass touched per 90, right? It's not one of those. I'm not about to drop some new analytic. It's more important than that. This is about heritage. This is about football. This is about something even more important than football. Drinking around football. There is a new ranking that has dropped that, and I realize this might be a burden, so I don't want to overburden the editor of this channel, Gadjet. An editor, of course, a bit of a glorified word because all he really does is, clip out the particularly egregious parts of my ramblings. But I'm going to ask Gadjet to do some actual editing here so that he doesn't unveil the entire list and you just instantly see all of the answers. Because we're going to do this one at a time and we're going to have some fun with it. All right, I came across this list of the top 10 the top 10 clubs in the Premier League ranked by the most pubs within a 1 mile radius of the stadium. And there is a clear winner, massively clear winner. All right, that has 3 times as many pubs within a mile of the stadium as any other team in the entire Premier League. And honestly, if your team is not on this list, you need to get your numbers up. If your team is not on this list, you need to get your numbers up. And the team that squeaks in at number 10, that would be West Ham in the London Stadium. I'll be honest, I've been to this stadium. When I was doing my marathon training, and I know you guys are so excited I'm going to mention running again, I ran around it while destructively hungover. I ran about 6 or 7 laps around the London Stadium because it's in this park thing. But what the London Stadium is also right next to is this very... it's a kind of it's British suburbia, basically. It is just apartment buildings and restaurants, and I'm assuming 12 pubs in there. It is a bit out of town out in the east, in Stratford, I think. My English knowledge is coming in handy here. And I'm not surprised, but they're not, it's like a Weatherspoons and a couple of restaurants that can pass as pubs. Right, but they've used that to sneak into number 10, but only 12. If you're going to be a proper club, I feel like you need more than 12 pubs within a mile of the ground. But honestly, all you need is one good one. Isn't that the truth? Nottingham Forest is number 9. So congratulations, Nottingham Forest, for being the 9th best in terms of pubs near the stadium. They've got the city ground. They only have 14. They got 14 pubs within a mile of the stadium. But I will give Nottingham Forest credit for this. I feel like the clubs, West Ham included, that are in London, they're cheating a little bit, right? That is a very congested city, right? It is also, it feels in a lot of ways like half the entire country lives in London. And with it being a congested city that a ton of people live in, you're obviously going to end up with a lot more pubs near the stadium, where Nottingham is obviously not in London. And so the fact that they've managed to put 14 pubs within a mile of their ground, that's a very impressive performance from Nottingham. And it's certainly a team I wouldn't have expected to see on this list. And I don't mean that with any disrespect. Number 8, checking in with a cool 20 pubs within 1 mile of the stadium, Tottenham Hotspur. I'm assuming this is why they built the new stadium, so that they could improve their ranking in this one. But this is a London club that's obviously cleaning up on the fact that it is in London, right? 8 of these are probably Weatherspoons by themselves, right? There's so many of those in London, you can't even see it straight. I think a YouTuber tried to make a video going to every Weatherspoons in London, and they didn't make it. And that's not surprising. Tottenham Hotspur, though, also definitely uses these pubs not just for the fans, but for the players recently, specifically the defenders. I've heard tell that the defenders make use of the ready availability of 20 pubs within a mile radius of the stadium. But they couldn't crack the top 7. For number 7, we go into an oldie, a goodie, one of those clubs that's just a Premier League staple, whether they're about to get relegated or not. Everton in Goodison Park. Although this number is going to change. They check in with 23 pubs within 1 mile of the stadium. And as somebody that has seen a match at Goodison Park, that is, that's bang on. Yeah, I'm surprised it's not more, because Goodison Park is legitimately just right in. It's not next to the suburbs. It is just right in the middle of town. And it's not even tall enough to super stand out. You're just walking down a street and it's like house, 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 ticket turnstile. Is that a stadium? House, house, house. That's how Goodison Park appears. They've wedged it into like one city block. The seats are like this. An average-sized human being doesn't fit into them. I understand completely why they're building a new stadium, because there's no way you're ever going to have a world-class club, which Everton definitely aspires to be as a longtime Premier League, as one of the Premier League teams. You're never going to be able to run a club like that out of Goodison. But the Premier League is losing something not having a stadium like Goodison Park anymore. I would imagine the number is going to go down, though. So Everton is definitely, they're gettable on this list, right? They're at 23 right now, but they move into the Bramley Moore Docks Stadium. That's going to be a completely different vibe. It's going to be a modern stadium, and I think they're going to lose a few pubs. Somebody's going to have to come in and build some pubs. And Everton already is getting its nose rubbed in it, because at number 6, it's Liverpool with 25 pubs within 1 mile. And that's just, that's brutal. Anfield checking in with 25. Goodison checking in with 23. Not the first time Everton's end up behind Liverpool in recent memory. So that's probably a comfortable, normal feeling. But you got to love the fact that Liverpool's two clubs are up there. They're swinging. They're 7th and 6th in the table for most pubs within 1 mile. It just shows you what Liverpool's all about. Really shows you the character of the city, the character of the people, and the way that they develop their fans, right? I mean, we talk about a team like Real Madrid. They're able to develop some talent, right? But they also have to buy a lot of talent, right? Well, Barcelona, they've got La Masia for developing those fans. It just seems like Liverpool and Everton, they just have this penchant in the city of Liverpool for developing their fans. There's an academy system of bars near the stadium. But again, the winner of this table, in a completely different stratosphere. There's Chelsea at number 5. We're going back to London, right? Tottenham Hotspur ending up behind Chelsea. Not a fun time for them. And it's not the last time they won't have a fun time here. Stamford Bridge is within a mile of 27 pubs. Not a surprise. London, for all of the reasons I've already stated, is going to be absolutely cooking on this list. I am a little surprised Chelsea is in the top 5, though. They just don't feel particularly boozy to me, right? I don't know if I'm just not getting the vibe. I've never been to a match at Stamford Bridge before, but I wasn't getting an overly boozed vibe from the Chelsea fans. But hey, you got 29 pubs within or 27 pubs within a mile. Sure. The next team has 29, and that would be the Tractor Boys from Ipswich Town, which is awesome, right? This is what lower league English football is all about. I mean, you've got Ipswich Town, who's coming up from the championship. They're in the Premier League, and they're bringing the culture back. They're bringing the culture back. This is the culture we're missing. They're bringing it back. They're here with their 29 pubs within a mile of Portman Road. And at this point, we are starting to get really, really high up there, okay, in terms of number of pubs. Think about what we're talking about here for a second. It's a stadium, okay? And within a mile of that stadium, there are 29 establishments that can be classified as pubs. That's a lot. I haven't been to 29 pubs, like 29 different pubs in my entire life. There's 29. Okay, it's because in the U.S. we don't classify anything as pubs. We'll be honest. But 29 is a lot, right? There's not a lot of other establishments around this stadium if you've got 29 pubs. It's like 29 pubs, a chippy, some houses, tractors, right? Like that's all they've got going at Ipswich Town. But the next step takes us past 30. And that's the third best team in the Premier League pubs within a mile table. And that would be Arsenal. So Tottenham getting outflanked by both rivals out here. Arsenal with 33 pubs within a mile of the Emirates Stadium. Going, the way this season's going for them, considering what their expectations were, they're going to need all 33 of them. At number 2, and this is where we begin the really stunning stuff. Because I didn't have this club pegged right at all. Wolverhampton Wanderers. Speaking of needing the pubs, the way their season's gone, they absolutely need them. But Wolves at the Molineux, 50. They have 50 pubs. 50 pubs. Within a mile of the stadium. 50 pubs. What do you need 50 pubs for? There's no way their stadium's even big enough. You got 50 pubs full of people. Can you fit that in the stadium? How are these pubs all staying in business? 50 pubs within a mile. 50 pubs. That's so many pubs. And the reason I'm emphasizing how many pubs that is because of where we're going on the table. We're going way higher than that for the number one team, which, of course, you've probably been trying to guess since the beginning of this video. But shout out the Wolves. Honestly, Wolves, they did that whole let's just sign Portuguese players thing, and you kind of forget that they have their chops as like an old school English fan base with 50 pubs within a mile of the Molineux. But number one is a completely different category, and it explains so much. Newcastle, with 174 pubs within a mile of the stadium. I don't know how that's physically possible. I mean, at this point, you're probably making the pubs nice and small and lining them up all next to each other to try and maximize your use of space. There is no way that you're fitting 174 normal-sized pubs within a mile of the stadium. Is there nothing else in downtown Newcastle? I guess not. Right? There's nothing else in Newcastle. It's just pubs and a stadium. That's the entire experience. And honestly, it's not even a competition. If you add together every single other one left on this list, Newcastle is still competing with that number in terms of number of pubs. Honestly, it seems like they're the only one that's trying. It's almost like every other club doesn't care about this ranking. Newcastle does, and it shows. Respect to them.